Hi there YouTube! If you are a PC gamer, the chance is pretty high that you heard about Star Citizen already some time ago. And like so many, you might wonder, isn't it released yet? The game development must be ongoing since forever. If you are an outsider, you might ask this question out loud, mockingly. Many backers that invested their money in the game might feel the sting of the question, as they silently are plagued by doubts themselves. When will it be done? It is true, there are already pieces of the game accessible in the early alpha stage, but there are a tremendous amount of game puzzle pieces still missing to be the game that the gamers have pledged for and that they have been promised. I myself am a backer since the very early days, and my faith in the game is still strong, but I would be lying if I would not admit that I have felt that doubt every now and then myself. While the game development is unusually open about its progress, continuous community updates and impressive tech demos only do so much to reassure that this game will be in the hands of the gamer base anytime soon. Cloud Imperium Games have accumulated a record of broken promises when it comes to release dates and promised content over the years. So far, almost nothing has been shown from Squadron42, the single-player game that was announced as spiritual successor to Wing Commander in October 2012. The game that after all has started the Kickstarter campaign to begin with. When CitizenCon 2016 was announced, the community was in for something big, and the expectations skyrocketed. When it was announced, however, that there was nothing to be shown from Squadron42, nor Arena Commander, the long-delayed PvP, first-person shooter part of the game, some of the crowd literally went nuts. Twitch chat got really ugly, and even in the community forums some disappointed backers uttered their strong feelings about the lack of content quite verbosely. It did not help that the demo that was shown, the Homestead demo, featured utterly brilliant on-planet gameplay that was visually breathtaking and showed what huge potential this game still has. For some of the disappointed crowd, it was yet another heavily scripted tech demo that none of them would have the chance to play anytime soon. When will this game finally be done? Or to be precise, the two games. Because what started out as a Kickstarter campaign for Squadron42, the single-player game that should be the Wing Commander successor, has developed into a second game called Star Citizen, the multiplayer experience in a persistent universe as a successor to Freelancer or Privateer. With a first-person FPS shooter component and a casual fun dogfight simulator like World of Warplanes, and multiplayer capital ship gameplay, and mining and refining, or pirating and bounty hunting, and exploration and discovering new solar systems artifacts or other space mysteries, and smuggling, and of course trading with a realistic simulated economy, and farming, and on-planet gameplay with survival elements, personalized quests with cutscenes and quest triggers like any other MMO, ship repairs and rigging, stealth and counter-stealth gameplay with science and research, rescue gameplay with healing and injuries, with crafting and modding of equipment, wear and tear on your ships, equipment, and maybe even the aging of your character, player housings, virtual reality support, and a full orchestrated soundtrack, and an A-list of actors to bring Squadron42 and the universe to life. The tremendous success of the crowdfunding campaign made all these unlikely stretch goals possible, but you can't be less than in awe about the sheer length of the evolved gameplay list that came with the feature creep. The money piling into the promise that this game has the potential to be, was and is a blessing and curse at the same time. The sheer scope and ambition of this project outgrew its initial draft exponentially. It has now become nothing more than the monumental mountain to climb that some business insider consider being unclimbable. And I'm not even talking about Derek Smart here. We are talking about nothing less than a life simulator in outer space, the real life's escapist wet science fiction dream. Can it be done? And if, when will it be done? Well, here is my opinion. Chris Roberts and his merry crew of passionate professionals will succeed in climbing that damn unclimbable mountain. I'm so certain that they will succeed, I would bet on it. There might be some hurdles on the way to the top, but they will get there. And when they are, they will have crafted the game of a generation that is going to stay around forever, or at least as long as World of Warcraft. I have renewed confidence in the promise that was made in 2012. I am a software developer myself and I have some insights in software development, so let me take you with me on my conclusions. Right after CitizenCon, Cloud Imperium Games published a video, The Road to CitizenCon. The development of Star Citizen has 4 development studios worldwide that have different core development duties, not to mention contributing subcontractors here and there. If you are developing software under such circumstances, you have different development branches. Think of it as the following. You have the main Star Citizen codebase called the trunk. The software development trunk is considered the stable, shippable game code. When your development team gets the task to develop something new, you basically draw a copy from that software trunk, which is called your branch, and your team develops new code. After you are done, usually after a defined number of weeks, usually 2 to 4, you reintegrate the changes of your team back to the stable software trunk. You only do so, of course, if your branch is tested, bug-free, and so on. But now the following might happen, and it happens ever so often. Another team has changed something in the meantime, and they have reintegrated their work before you have had the chance to reintegrate yours. When you merge back your team's new code, you might break the game trunk, as you might have conflicting code changes. Sometimes the conflicting changes are obvious, sometimes they just sneak in, usually when test automation is not possible. And that is what happened before CitizenCon 2016. All development teams came together, full of hopes to show us something really great. But all of the teams were crunching really hard until the last moment. That means all teams threw their changes onto the main game trunk more or less simultaneously, and they just broke the game. Although I assume that each team's changes were quite well tested, the sum of its parts killed animations, the artificial intelligence, and so on. It was the right decision to cancel the demonstration of Squadron42 because they were not able to dissolve all the conflicts in time. Crew members running against walls and sitting in mid-air beside a chair is really not something you want to show to the public. I think the video showed how heartbroken everybody was. The video was a prime example of a good and open communication that Cloud Imperium Games is taking. I think a lot of backers regretted their disappointed outbursts on chat after they have seen that video. No one was more disappointed or heartbroken than the crew. But in spite the flaw of having missed the deadline, there was still a lot of valuable, hopeful information. A lot of the technical groundwork is basically done, or close to almost finished. And alas, I followed closely the last few weeks. Every around the verse or reverse the verse are ever so insightful and are rising my optimism. Star Citizen and Squadron42 are really on their home stretch. The whole toolchain is getting close to finished. The whole architecture, the technical framework, it is almost done, and you can see it if you care to follow regularly. The ship pipeline, the character pipeline, subsumption, which is responsible for NPC behavior, all kind of artificial intelligence, animation and interaction systems, container streaming, animations, the first-person shooter issues that plagued the game for years like head bounce and quirky animations, they are all gone. Package building and delivery has been intelligently rewritten, patches are smaller and can be built faster. The whole avocado ticket system helped with QA tremendously. Procedural guided planet generation is looking better every week. The new flight model, the new interactive music system, the reusability of code and modules across all boards, unified material libraries, unified blend shapes, character animations, and so on, in-game matchmaking, lobby system, and scoreboard. If you have come so far and your framework and tools are finally getting close to finished, succeed is close at hand. With the momentum that CIG has developed over the last year, they will not falter or struggle before they have crossed the finish line. Cloud Imperium Games is more and more shifting from making tools to generating game content. It shows in patch frequency, patch content and quality. And it is not even the ships I'm talking about. But enough of that. You came here for a reason, didn't you? So let's talk about release dates already. The Witcher 3 took about 3 years to make with over 200 employees. Grand Theft Auto No. 5 took about 4 years to make with over 300 employees. These games seem quite similar in scope, and this adventure has been in development for over 4 years now, so when will Squadron42 and Star Citizen finally be released? I used to say, soon. Or when it's done. But as of November the 18th, 2016, things have changed. There is no need for second guessing anymore, because Cloud Imperium Games has done something that no other software publisher has ever done before. They released their internal project plans with every status of game development to the public, and will update those once a week. This is an incredible amount of openness to the player base. These published project plans do, however, need us to comprehend that there are rules to these published informations. So let me again quote from the RSI website. First, quality will always be our #1 goal. We set out on this journey by looking at the gaming landscape and asking, can we do it better? We continue to ask that question about everything we do. As a result, we will always extend timelines or redo features on content if we do not feel they are up to our standards. The freedom to fight for a new level of quality in game development is what crowdfunding has allowed us, and we will continue to fight to make sure that Star Citizen is the best possible game it can be. Second, the estimates we provide are just that, estimates. They are based on our knowledge and experience, but there are many aspects of game development that are impossible to predict because they literally cover uncharted territory. You will see the same estimates we use in our internal planning, but it is important to understand that in many cases, especially with groundbreaking engineering tasks, these estimates are often subject to change due to unforeseen complexity in implementing features. Third, the time expected for bug fixing and polishing is also very hard to estimate, increasingly so in online and multiplayer situations. The complexity and the difficulty in testing at a large scale make it harder to reproduce and isolate bugs in order to fix them. We base our estimates, again, on our experience, but we also know that it's possible for a single bug to cause a delay of days or weeks when 100 others might be fixed instantly. What this basically is, CIG is not hiding anything from us. We have the same information as the rest of their team. Software development at this scale is however complex, and estimated deadlines might be subject to change. Project plans published are centered around the next planned patch in the production pipeline, so estimated release dates beyond the actual patch in production pipeline get more and more uncertain. But let's do our best to estimate some release dates, shall we? We will most certainly get Star Citizen 2.6 before Christmas 2016. The planned for release date is scheduled as of December the 8th. But as we just learned, this date is not written in stone. But I guess it's fair to assume we will see this patch before year's end. This means we will have refactored working first-person shooter gameplay in Star Marine, new flight system and a new music logic system, new lobby and leaderboard systems. I guess we might see a Squadron42 presentation also in a December stream, but we will not get our hands on Squadron42 before at least Star Citizen patch 3.0 is published to the live servers. Speaking of which, Star Citizen 3.0 might be the most anticipated of the communicated patches, as it brings groundbreaking technology we have witnessed in Gamescom and CitizenCom demo of 2016. Planetary tech is incoming. It also contains essential game tech that is needed for Squadron42 in form of subsumption. We will have planet-side landings, we will see trading as a new basic game mechanic, smuggling and piracy. I expect this patch to hit us in the mid of 2017. Speaking of Squadron42, although the game is in greybox phase or better on most of its 60 missions in 2016 already, there's still a lot to be done. Polishing the game and killing bugs in mission play, artificial intelligence and so on will take up the most time in 2017 on behalf of both teams associated with Squadron42. So I do not expect the game to be published before year's end. I do, however, expect some heavy promoting of Squadron42 during Gamescom and or CitizenCom of 2017. Star Citizen patch 3.1. We will have mining, refining and processing as new game mechanics and locations that support them, so think of asteroids. Refueling and escort missions. Although this update does not have a long list of new gameplay features in form of assets or game mechanic that have to be created, I expect the patch to be delayed until year's end, as I expect a change of development focus after the release of Star Citizen 3.0 in favor of Squadron42. Squadron42. Before the end of year 2017 we might get a couple of missions in Squadron42 to play around with, but I am almost sure the game will not be released to the public just yet. Star Citizen 3.2 will come with new game mechanics, salvage and repair and locations to support them. Think derelict ships and space and on planet sites. We will have mercenary covert operations and some new ships. Again, we will not have so many new gameplay assets. I estimate this to hit us in spring 2018. Star Citizen 3.3 will come with farming and potential survival gameplay, as farming means food, means starving and so on, and the system locations and ships to support us. We will also see rescue missions and healing. I expect this patch to be released during Gamescom 2018. I also expect Squadron42 to be heavily promoted during Gamescom and CitizenCom with a final release before the end of the year in 2018. And finally, but not least, we talk about Star Citizen 4.0. Finally, we will see multiple star systems and jump points. This comes with exploration and discovery, science and research as new gameplay mechanics. With this patch we have now all the gameplay mechanics finished. It is now the task of cranking out content for the persistent universe. Although the tools are now all finished, generating all the solar system's quests and content for each system is a daunting task that just takes a lot of time. The dev teams from Squadron and Foundry 42 will move over to generating gameplay for the persistent universe. I assume this patch hits us early 2019. From here on, we will see an expandation to the Star Citizen universe via ships, missions and new solar systems every 4 months. Player housing might also be the next big thing on the list. So these are my rough guesses. When we will lay our hands on this larger-than-life science fiction geek's wet dream, does it even matter? I think we will get there soon enough. Just a little more patience. I'm sure it will be spectacularly great. Thank you for listening for such a long time, Brigand. Over and out. Oh, and by the way, if you like the visuals of this video, what you saw was mostly the screensaver I have written for Star Citizen, which I now abuse for generating visuals for my screensaver. Go over to my screensaver video and download the screensaver if you like.